Welcome back, everybody. Sick with the Flu Moose here, and this is Cities Skylines 2. I wanted to start off by saying thank you to everyone who checked out Friday's video. The feedback I got from it has changed the way I approach videos and made me rethink a lot of stuff. And so, it's time to show you why I play with unlimited money. So let's do this series the right way. After all, it is drawing inspiration from Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal. Welcome to the Maps with Moose segment, where we use the power of Google Maps to show you the real-world inspiration for today's build. Today, we will be redesigning the city entrance and starting layout, drawing inspiration from the famous Heart of Granville. In present day, the city has gone ahead with removing the two on and off ramps that shape the heart, and here is what the plan is for this area once they are completely removed. So let's dive back into Cities Skylines 2 and see how we can implement this into our starting layout. Welcome back, city builders. So as mentioned in the start, I got really sick from a concert, and it turns out it's COVID. That's right. Ya boy Moose caught the heckin' Rona. So apologies if my voice sounds a little bit off today. I'm trying to record this before it gets much worse. So yeah, you know. But hey, luckily it didn't affect video upload time at all. We're still going to get these videos out on time. The Rona will not stop me from bringing you all hot Cities Skylines 2 content. So let's dive in. Taking the inspiration that we went over at the start of the video, actually real quick here, look at this. Apparently, if you get too close to the walled section, like where the walled section is of the road there, it causes the road to divot, like sink down, no matter how flat it is. It's very interesting. And you're going to see a lot of my biggest frustrations with Cities Skylines 2 in this video. So, an honest discussion about it. I'm sure people are probably curious, you know, now at this point, if you're watching this video, you have access to Cities Skylines 2. This video is coming out on launch day. So my personal rating for the game as is would be a 7 out of 10. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense. I personally think that any city builder game that comes out should not have network collision. You should be able to freely move networks however you want, and there shouldn't be a collision. I guess people could make the argument for a collision for pillars, sure, but even that, I just don't think any city builder game coming out, especially in 2023, should have network collision, because as you're going to see, it causes a lot of issues here, which leads me to the first mod I'd like to see for this game, network anarchy. Yes, network anarchy over move it, because look at this. Dragging this road out instantly causes a collision of sorts. Now, we're able to work around it by dragging out a smaller segment and then a little bit longer, but it's very odd how the roads work, and the grids do seem to break so much easier than Cities Skylines 1. Now, this won't be much of an issue for me once we get into using mods like Find It to plop buildings manually. So here we are dragging out the roads. Now let's dice in some positives here. While I do think that you know, a lot of the stuff with the roads leaves me scratching my head and wondering why they chose that. The continuous road section is awesome. That it basically allows you to create these beautiful curves like you're seeing here very easily. Like as you saw there, that's exactly the look that we're going for based off of the real world inspiration. And look at how easy that was. I sucked in Cities Skylines 1 at creating curves and beautiful on and off ramps. And it appears in Cities Skylines 2 that anybody, even somebody who makes ugly roads, can make it work. So we're going to drag up this dirt road, and I'm starting to use the dirt roads a little bit more to kind of set guidelines for this and lay out where I want the roads to be. I eventually will change them up for 2-lane roads once I start building in there, but I don't know, it's something that I'm going to use a little bit more. I did it a lot in Cities Skylines 1 to help draw out my ideas, or like put my ideas from head to game, you know? So we're going to come in here and now convert that road now that I've figured out that I want it to face that way. And I want to be big on the alleyways. Alleyways, we talked about this in the last episode. Alleyways are a big part of downtowns, especially in Vancouver, British Columbia. Other cities as well too. You can see it throughout Toronto. You can see it in areas of Montreal. For me though, it is so prevalent in Vancouver, British Columbia, where I currently reside. So I initially thought about splitting this road and doing 2 one-way roads that connect into the greater grid, but we decided to go with the avenue and have it connect in a bit of a better way that I think ends up being really cool, because the way that it curves, because you want it to kind of follow the water here, but the way that it curves around to eventually connect in, I think creates a really cool, unique design. Because I thought about connecting it to the bottom, but I figured that would be a little bit too close. Like, it makes more sense for it to be in the middle where we can have shops on both sides. So I dragged that through the road there, and we're going to try and do it a little bit better so that we can get the curve a little bit straighter. And I'm going to eventually have to switch from the continuous mode to the simple curve to get it perfectly aligned with that road. As you can see, even there, it's still a little bit off. And we take a look here and you can see that's just a little bit off. So sometimes it is better. Continuous mode is awesome, but switch in that simple curve, turn on snap to road guidelines, and then angle it in, and we get that really nice curve that connects through the grid there. Gonna convert these roads over to the 2-lane road, but I realized that likely this area would also have a lot of alleys, and I want to make sure that I get the size correct. So I'm going to come in and adjust that, but it still didn't end up being kind of what I wanted. So I actually go in and adjust this area off camera after to try and get the exact layout that I want for the size of zoning that I want in this area. I hope you all are enjoying this episode, and I hope you all are okay with me exploring a do-over, you know, as City Planner Plays would say, a mulligan. But I kind of looked at the builds many times and thought, like, this is just not what I want it to look like. The idea was cool, but it just wasn't there. And I'm so much happier with this. And I think that the way that this series is going to go is each episode is going to feature a build inspiration from either Vancouver, Toronto, or Montreal. And that inspiration will be start of the episode like you saw today. This will be kind of the template that you can expect from these videos going forward. And I'm really excited for that. I think it, you know, connects us into the fact that this is, you know, I'm Canadian Moose, and then we're building Canadian cities here. And we need to showcase that more and really draw inspiration from that, because I think we could create a really cool sort of, I don't know what the term would be, like a stew of Canadian builds, you know, ideas. Like, I would love to try and incorporate the Gardiner Expressway in somehow from Toronto. Likewise, the brewery district in Toronto would be really cool. And then when we get bikes, then I can go crazy with Montreal, which I'm really hoping we get that soon. Montreal has become my favorite Canadian city. But let's talk about what's happened on screen here and my frustrations with the game. For whatever reason, the way that this is connected in and the other roads connect, I cannot bulldoze this. I will never understand this. I'm sure somebody will probably comment and be like, well, this is why it is. Even if you have a valid reason for why this exists, I'm still going to say, nope, something like this should not exist in the game. I don't know how it, you know, to quote Tyler 1,
how did it even make it to live servers? How?
I will never understand. The network collisions are almost worse, I want to say. Like, there's cool stuff you can do. I shouldn't say almost worse, but yeah, the network collision's pretty bad in this game. So again, network anarchy, I need it over move it, as you know, the first mod there. But yeah, I mean, like, look at that. Again, that one's a pillar, so that one I can kind of deal with. But the fact that dragging roads underneath other roads is still hard to do, and arguably harder, I don't understand that. I will never be able to understand that. I really think that they should look at this and make changes to this for people that maybe don't want to use mods, you know? Despite the fact that they're doing Paradox mods, so I guess it's like more accessibility for a lot of people. But despite that too, this is something that like should have been addressed in the vanilla game. The collisions are crazy. They prevent us from doing a lot of cool stuff, especially with like the water, drawing out roads that have these beautiful key walls to it should be able to be done over water, but it is, again, it's doable within reason, but a lot of headache has to go in to get the exact result that you want. And so I stand by it. I think that Colossal Order took a pretty big L on this one with the fact that they included collisions into the game. I just don't think any city builder game should have collisions with networks in 2023 or any future builder games. So we're going to draw this out here, and I'm going to try and figure out if I can get this one. There it is. So I just had to adjust the snapping a bit. As mentioned in the last video, I have found, now it's not flawless, but it has much higher percentages of success, is turning off the snap to guidelines so that you can get a solid grid that doesn't break. Again, it's just the way that the road snaps to other road guidelines, and if that's not aligned to the same grid, it will cause the grid to break. So that's been successful for me for sort of figuring that out. We're going to continue the grid here that continues from the main arterial into the city. And continue that those alleyways, because they're like, I think it is really cool that we do have alleyway roads. And I think I would not be surprised if somebody tries to build a rural city in Cities Skylines 2 and uses those alleyway roads as suburban roads to zone homes off of. Now, let's talk about roads as well, too. I feel like this video's got a lot of hot takes in it, you know? Or maybe they're not hot takes. Maybe people agree out there. We'll see once the video comes out how the comments are feeling. But if I'm being honest about this, I'm a little bit let down by the roads in this game. When we play Cities Skylines 1 modded, we have so many options for roads that perfectly fit what we want. Now, the roads themselves do look good and awesome asymmetrical options, but the fact that they didn't think to include a customized option, like a customizable, well, the sickness is getting to me, a customizable road builder, again, it's just another piece that kind of baffles me. How could you, in what you are dubbing the most realistic city builder ever, give us already, basic roads that we can't really do much with other than place, and they look great. But I do think it was a bit of a misfortune that we didn't get a custom road builder option so that we can really create the cities of our dreams and the cities that we want to build. So we're going to connect that avenue in there and then turn the 2-lane road that followed that into an avenue, and then adjust the 2-lane road there that you saw as well. But I'm really happy with this road layout. I think it looks really cool. It instantly gives you those Vancouver vibes. And again, we don't have much unlocked for high density, so when we do get to the zoning in this episode, you're going to see that I think the way that we're going to approach it is let's use low density in a lot of these areas to fill it out. It'll still be the same zoning type, aka commercial on the main strip there, that will eventually be turned into high density commercial. Likewise, we could do the same with offices. Start out small and then eventually zone them out to be high density offices where the central business district and the skyline of the city would sit. So I placed this power station here to try and get power into the city, and then I realized that there is some nasty slope work going on here, and I want to see if I can figure this out. Oh, and you just saw the colors change. Look at that. The trees are changing. Autumn is here. How cool is that? The seasons are gorgeous. I'm really glad they got that in, because if you remember from the first video I did on the 3-part early access series, we didn't have fall trees at all. It just said fall and there was nothing going on. Likewise, winter was a bit hit or miss, but they have really put a lot of work into the seasons as, they get ready to release the game. And oh my god, it looks awesome. I love it. Now, there's some wonkiness. We're going to come back in and eventually fix this up when we buy the tile beside it. Now, you will see in the bottom left that I do have tiles unlocked, and I could have probably unlocked it, but the way I want to approach this is I want to get tiles kind of filled first before I buy other tiles, unless the tile is deemed essential. Like maybe at one point, because I found this game prioritizes suburban sprawl over high density. And so there might come a time where I need to zone out a lot of suburbs so that I can get high density to zone as well. And so maybe we unlock some tiles, somewhere else in the map that's its own sort of town, like its own small town with its own fire, its own medical and whatnot. And in that case, I can justify using the tiles. But here, just for the road, there's no need. Let's fill this out first, and then we'll come in and eventually fix that road up. But I am really happy with the way that the avenue cuts through, and I think once we get this filled out with a mixture of row homes, high-density apartments, some of the low-rent apartments, I think it's going to create a really cool look along that avenue. Mix in some commercial in there, and you know what? Let's throw in some mixed use in there as well, too. I think it's going to create a really beautiful community. So I'm coming in here, and once again, we had some network sussiness because of the height issue, I guess. It was too steep, so you gotta love that. And we're gonna come in there with the 2-lane road to connect in the alleyway and the other 2-lane road. Once again, you can see it there, but the grid, now we're doing some wacky road design there, but I can't wait for Network Anarchy, find it, and move it. I know I mentioned, like, what was it? Yeah, it was literally the last episode about wanting to stick with vanilla. And the more I play Cities Skylines 2, the more I realized that there was just some weird decisions that they made for this game that unfortunately do mean I will probably not play vanilla all the time. I'm gonna go back to my modded ways as soon as the mods appear, as soon as we get those back. But I still think I can keep this asset free, like we will add mods that we need, unfortunately, but I think I keep this one asset free. Like, I like the idea of keeping one of our series here all vanilla assets, so like lightly modded, all vanilla assets. So essentially, like, you see some City Skylines series like that, where it's just lightly modded with a couple custom or maybe even no custom assets, just lightly modded. So I think that's going to be the plan for this build. We'll eventually do one that has, assuming we get Reaper and Smiley's assets up to where they are on Cities Skylines 1, I think we could do this series Season 2 and start fresh, maybe get a more coastal map, because I really do love this map with the mountains. Like, they are stunning, but I am sad missing out on the coast. But we say that this, exists somewhere in Quebec. The mountains would suggest that this exists in British Columbia, but, maybe in this world, Quebec had huge mountains near Montreal or Quebec City, So we'll go with that, right? But no, I would like to do one with assets for this so I can really capture the look of it. But the assets for this game are really gorgeous. Some of them are too big. They're great for when you have the city planned out a little bit more. But yeah, mainly the elementary and high school assets are like massive. Their scale seems a bit off to me. And I can't wait to get some more realistic schools in here. I think what would have been cool for them is if they would have done a couple variants of assets. Like, let's, give us a small option or a big option of the asset. Like, look at the elementary school, look at the high school. Just give us small versions of that. Or it could have been done through building upgrades. Maybe you place it and it's small, and maybe somebody who wants a big school for their city can use the building upgrades to make it bigger, right? And maybe that's a potential for asset creators, right? Which I am really excited to see what they come up with when it comes to the option for building upgrades. That has me really, really excited. There was a little bit of that stuff going on in Cities Skylines 1, but it's properly fleshed out now. And oh man, I am very, very excited for it. Also, I'm realizing now, watching this footage back, I zoned residential right up to Walnut Street there, and I actually want that to be commercial. So I'm going to go fix that. Of course, after recording this, I'm going to take a bunch of medicine and pass out because oh baby, the Rona is hitting hard. It is not fun. I'll leave you all here with the medium density zoning and connect with you during the ending cinematics. welcome to the Not So Live Play section. I hope you all enjoyed this episode and the city redesign. I am much more pleased with this, and I think it's a much better representation of what I wanted to showcase to all of you in this series. As mentioned in the time-lapse, I would love to hear all of your build suggestions from either Vancouver, Toronto, or Montreal. So comment below what you would like to see me implement in this series. Some things that will happen though: trams inspired by Toronto, metro inspired by Vancouver, and a historic old town using the European theme inspired by Montreal. But I also wonder if I can create the insane underground city Montreal has. But alas, that's a topic for another video. As always, I want to give a shout out to the people who support me over on Patreon and Ko-fi. Disney Dude 1, Shane Turner, Fish Bob, Hey Guy Buddy, Braygard, William Epps, the Yed _ Anthropophagic, the Jonah, Trevor Sabo, Poplar Ponderosa, and Lone Bear CA. Thank you all so much for the support. I'm Canadian Moose Plays. This was Cities Skylines 2. Happy building.